Won't say that conviction is the when you don't do something, but when you go all in on something, I would say that does take conviction. Now, your conviction might
How
be
many
coming from
chairs are
first
you sitting on
principles.
right now?
One,
Are you all in on the chair?
I am all in on the chair.
Like the point really is you put on one pair of glasses, you've got one pair of AirPods right now. You're looking at me through one screen. You're using one microphone. That's a one microphone. Like you trust it? Is that conviction? Seems kind of scary. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you use 10 microphones? The point really is things in your life. Do you drive in 10 cars at the same time or one car at one time? Do you drive down one street? Aren't you afraid that you're driving down one street? Do you take a different way? You know? Uh, so my point really is if you're an engine, you get on one airplane. Are you convicted? You put your entire family in the one airplane. Aren't you afraid? Ultimately, if you're a rational individual, do you use when you use knives, do you have copper knives, wooden knives, steel knives, aluminum knives, rubber band knives, diamond knives because you're afraid to commit to the right knife? It's a tool.
All right, it's been a minute, but we're back in it. Good evening, Bitcoiners, freedom lovers. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Bitcoin with a particular spotlight on Fidelity's big-time recent report and Bitcoin revelations. Yes, Fidelity, in short, said there is no second best. But hey, we got a lot to cover. Let's get it. Let's go ahead and kick it off with the heavyweights. Fidelity, a whopping 4.5 trillion under management, just dropped some knowledge bombs about Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and get a rundown of those top 10 insights. First off, Fidelity's calling Bitcoin the best form of money. That's right, better than gold. Whatever your shitcoin is, there is no second best. They also introduced this virtuous cycle of Bitcoin indicating a potential winner-takes-all scenario. I wonder where I've heard that everything goes to zero against Bitcoin before. Oh yeah, JP Morgan, what was that? Fool's gold, you said? A fake, a fraud? Well, Fidelity's likening Bitcoin to the invention of the wheel, completely revolutionary and unparalleled. So again, go f yourself, Jamie Dimon. Where have you heard that Bitcoin was designed to be attacked? While we may not be, Fidelity is amazed that Bitcoin survived and thrived throughout the numerous challenges since the '08 financial crisis, and then the premonition within the Genesis block. Not only was Chancellor on the brink of bailouts, but also there was calamity in the Middle East. All of that happening now. It is kind of prophetic, but let's continue. Also, when it comes to security, Bitcoin is the world's supercomputer, the strongest computing network on the planet, and Bitcoin's in a league of its own, towering over any other coin or computing network on the planet. I bet Charlie Munger called the internet rat poison, but if you remember the early days of the internet, well, Fidelity's drawing parallels between Bitcoin and the internet's foundational protocols. Pretty big deal. Despite numerous self-proclaimed competitors, Bitcoin continues to dominate the crypto market, and unlike meme coins or whatever the hell else, Bitcoin is not a fad. Fidelity is telling you this, not me, and they believe it's totally found its role in the digital asset ecosystem. And again, there is no second best, echoing what many of us believe Bitcoin should be considered first and separate from all other digital assets. Bitcoin, not crypto. And Giga Chad's here to remind you, there is no second best again. Fidelity Digital Assets in this report explains why Bitcoin is unique, superior, and why investors should consider it separate from all other digital assets, but assets in general. Yeah, that's right, every asset. Bitcoin has outperformed every asset in the 1, 5, and 10-year categories. Guess who's joining the party? Larry Fink and BlackRock, Fidelity, been in the game. We had Franklin Templeton file for a spot Bitcoin ETF. Lots of big guys coming to the party. And here we go, the fairy godmother of Bitcoin, Stacey Herbert, chimes in and emphasizes Bitcoin's superiority as a monetary form. It's not just about being digital, it's just about being better. Let's go ahead and check out Marty Bent with Fidelity's Chris Kuiper on the TFTC podcast, and they dive deep into the world of Bitcoin, its implications in the future. Let's go ahead and start with a look at the rapid evolution of technology.
Yeah, definitely. On the acceleration point, one of the things I like to reference in talks that I do, or when, especially if it's to a big group or on stage, but also with clients too, it kind of can resonate with them, is everything you're talking about here. And Jesse was talking about the acceleration of all of this. Jeff Booth talks about this a lot. We as humans are terrible at extrapolating things exponentially in our minds, right? We're linear thinkers. And he always uses the example, if you fold a paper 40, 45 times, provided you could do it on an atomic level or you had the strength to, how high would it be? Most people guess, a few stories, maybe as tall as the Empire State Building if they're really aggressive. And the correct answer is from here to the moon, 250,000 miles, right? And the other illustration I like to give is one I've seen before where I'll put up two pictures, or I'll show one picture first, which is the Wright brothers in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, showing the first demonstrated flight, right? 1903, they flew their plane a few hundred yards or something like that. The second picture is Neil Armstrong on the moon.
Yeah.
And guess how many years those two pictures are apart? They're only 65, 66 years apart. Yeah. And so I say, if you were a young person on that December day in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and you just witnessed this first flight ever, they proved that it could be done. And they said, okay, you now know it can be done. Where do you think this goes in 65 years? Not a single person on that field would guess we'll have someone on the moon, let alone we'll have Boeing 747s shuttling millions of people around the world every day like it's nothing, right? We're just so bad at predicting technological change like that at that exponential rate. And so, I mean, that's our job at Fidelity to try to navigate this. It's why Fidelity built Fidelity Center for Applied Technology, which I talked about earlier. It's why they continue to experiment with things like AI and quantum computing and all this stuff to see how it could fit into our financial world. You're talking about the first caller ID and someone else said, yeah, Fidelity's history, how did they navigate it before? One funny thing in their history that I remember seeing when I first started was they were, I think, the first to implement being able to buy mutual funds over the phone, like either first with a person and then actually like a touch tone phone, like one of those automated things, which just seems so funny and archaic now, but of course was revolutionary at the time. So it's those kinds of things where, you just have to keep innovating, keep taking advantage of what's coming out there to serve your clients.
The word's out, Bitcoin isn't just another company or fleeting trend. Its value lies in its unique monetary properties. And guess what? Fidelity's on board with this thinking. While Fidelity and BlackRock are definitely bullish developments, don't rely on BlackRock or Fidelity to custody your own generational wealth. Self-custody is the revolution. And Simply Bitcoin Originals are powered by the Bitcoin Way. They are your IT team in the Bitcoin world. They can help you with your journey. If you need help with wallets and nodes, inheritance planning, no KYC purchases, how to buy Bitcoin, accepting Bitcoin payments, collaborative custody, multi-sig, and more, they got you covered. Schedule a free 30-minute call today using that link below. For all of those still on the fence, Fidelity's report is a must-read. We'll have the full report down in the show notes so you can take a look at it. And it is a stamp of approval from a major financial giant, and it might just be the little nudge Bitcoin needs to kickstart an epic bull run going into the 2024 halving.
The one thing I personally try to get through to people is like, hey, yeah, it looks stupid, it's slow, it's really foreign, there's a bunch of crazy people that are into it, but if you really dig into it and look at the fundamentals and how everything works, like there's something there, and it is undeniable that it provides utility that has never existed before. And if you can grok that, you may not be able to fathom the changes it will bring to the world at this current moment, but you have to at least accept that human history have shown, like when something like this is dropped on humans, we take it and run to the highest extent that we can take it.
The other thing that works on institutions is drop a Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett idea on them. They'll usually resonate, which is invert, always invert. So to invert this is to say, do you think that in the, I don't know how many years it'll take, but in the future, it will be normal to think that we couldn't send money to whoever we wanted with a click of the button like we do in email? That it took 3 to 5 business banking days, or that international wires got stuck? Like, that's just going to seem so silly that anyone ever put up with that and that we had that, right? So if you flip it around and invert it, you think, oh yeah, we are living in this kind of weird era that we just take all these things as normal, but we've been like fish in a water where, well, that's just how it is, right?
Email is such a good parallel. Like email, when you reference public and private key cryptography and you have a public address that anybody can send, or David Marcus yesterday, I think, was referring to. I never heard it in that form. And it's pretty simple. It's just like, if I go outside, I think the studio he was recording Squawk Box in front of New York was like, if I went out there, I could send an email to anybody. But if they asked for like money, now I'm trying to like figure out what app. And if they're in a different country, now I got like intermediary banks and I got to send a wire. Like just that inversion of like, should it be this hard? Can we imagine it's going to be that hard in 10 years is a nice framing. I think like we're all coalescing around this. It's all about like framing and positioning and meeting people where they're at, because ultimately everybody's coming at this from a different perspective.
Guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the Sound Money Gospel. Set those notifications. We get a lot of news coming your way. And we got some more content. If it wasn't enough from you to hear it from the horse's mouth that Bitcoin's rise and potential are unparalleled. So to all those Peter Schiffs out there with their shiny rocks, gold or Bitcoin, it's a question many investors may grapple with, but as the world evolves, the answer is becoming increasingly clear. Bitcoin offers liquidity, decentralization, and divisibility. It's not just the future. It is the now. Summing it up, guys, in a time of global economic uncertainty, Bitcoin is offering us that glimmer of hope and stability, and it's backed by research giants like Fidelity. Its potential is undeniable. So to those still denying or laughing, you can go ahead and laugh now. You'll cry later. You're part of something greater, because the Bitcoin revolution ain't stopping for you or anybody. Peace.